Good morning, class of 2019, family, friends, faculty, and distinguished guests. I am honored to be here with you today on this stage. I remember sitting right where you are, about there, sitting in the heat, the sun. Are you hot right now? Just waiting for the ceremony to be over and get my graduate degree in rehabilitation counseling 16 years ago. Wow. Yeah, pretty impressive, isn't it? I've been thinking about what I could bring you today, what wisdom I've earned to share. I'm sure you've been reflecting on what you've been through and where you're headed. You're finished school and heading into careers. Maybe you're thinking about dream jobs, marriage, and children. You're thinking about the life ahead of you and the expectations from your family, from friends, and from yourself. You have an idea of what a successful life will be. As I look over my 16 years, I think about what I had looked for, what the boxes I was looking to check off: a prestigious job, fame, anything that you might earn in this life. You can check all those boxes of your expectations and still feel unsatisfied and empty. So let's come back to the idea of success. Success means knowing your own self-worth, knowing who you are. When I think over my own journey to learning my self-worth and knowing who I am, it relates to what we've heard from many speeches today. It's about embracing the good and bad in life. It's about embracing failure. Through failures, struggles, hardship, that's how you find who you are. That's what we realize, what we can do. And that's where we find our true dreams. So then I thought back on my own failures, and there are plenty to choose from in my life, I'll tell you. The list goes on and on. But I wanted to share just a few with you. This is my favorite failure of my life to date. It happened when I was 14 years old. I was an incredibly shy young girl. I was quite introverted. And my parents sent me away to a summer camp. It was the youth leadership camp out in Staten, near here, in Staten, Oregon, not far from Western. It was a month-long camp where youth could learn leadership skills. Over that month, we learned a lot of different lessons, and there was also a class for drama. That planted a seed in me about maybe being on stage someday. But remember, I was this very shy, introverted little girl. And all of a sudden, this seed was planted of someday being on stage. I was going to the Indiana School for the Deaf, and every year they hosted a variety show at the end of the year. I decided I would audition. I decided that I would like to perform on stage alone. The hours I spent rehearsing for that, getting ready to be a performer on stage, I remember standing in the wings shaking. I could feel my whole body shaking. And I came out on stage, the lights dimmed, and a spotlight came up on me. And all of a sudden, I realized my father was the one controlling the spotlight, and he waved, and all of a sudden, I knew his support, and a wave of relief came over me. I began my story, and I felt my confidence grow. And I realized it was going well. I got about 3/4 of the way through my story and had a pregnant pause for effect, and my father turned off the spotlight. I wasn't done with my story, but he thought I was done. My whole moment that had been leading up to for all this time was ruined. My father ruined it. I ran off stage in tears. I felt my life, my dreams of performing on stage were over. I felt ready to disown my dad. Just pacing backstage in tears. After the variety show was over, I was flooded by people coming up to me telling me how powerful my performance was, how entrenched they had been, and how the ending was incredibly powerful. What could I say? That hadn't been my plan. But my life was changed that night from that apparent failure. I learned it's okay to take risks. It's okay to step out there. And sometimes the biggest failures you experience are the best successes. My life was changed by that abrupt darkness on the stage. And I've been on stage for the last 29 years, all thanks to my father. Thank you. I went to college at the Rochester Institute for the Deaf, Rochester Institute of Technology, studying social work. And they have a very professional theater program there, and I thought I'd give it a try. I went to an audition for the lead role. Now, the director for that play was a very famous director, world famous. He had flown in for this production. And I thought, if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere. The doors that will open. So I could not wait. I had expectations for myself about what success would look like. I did my best at the audition, and afterwards the director asked if he could speak to me. He pulled me aside and said, "Do you mind if I give you some direct feedback? Acting's not for you." I asked for some clarification about what he might mean by that. And he said, "You're not an actor, you are a performer." He said, "You have a gift to perform and interact with the audience. That's where your talent lies." So in that moment, I experienced some severe rejection and a precious gift. He opened the door to me of a life on stage in performance art rather than acting. And I've been performing ever since, over 25 years. Knowing your worth requires courage. In order to take risks, knowing your worth requires you to let go of things and people that no longer serve you. And knowing your worth takes forgiveness, forgiving others and forgiving self. Learning the lesson of self-forgiveness was critical in my journey. My father passed away 5 years ago. He had heart disease. And so it was a long journey. But just a few days before he passed away, we were emailing, and we were in an email argument. We were arguing over Christmas gifts. My father had told us he didn't want us to send any more Christmas gifts to him. He said, "I'm old, I've had my life, save your money, use your money to give gifts to your own children." But I wasn't ready to receive that. I knew I was a good daughter, I had a good career, I was a good mother, and I had my own good mother. And when he rejected those gifts, it hurt my self-worth. And so we were arguing about that it was my decision to send a gift or not his. I mean, it's really a minimal argument, but it became a big thing. His last email to me said, "Always remember that I love you all." When I read it, I felt like it was his way of saying, "Please respect my wishes," but I didn't understand that message. My last words to him were, "Fine, I give up." And then he passed away. My last words to my father were that I give up on him. Of all that we had been through, it was such an argument that was unnecessary, and it took a long time for me to forgive myself. I had sought his validation. I had sought self-worth from him as his daughter. And I hadn't really taken a look at my self-worth from me at that time. I had his love. I was a good daughter. I wish I would have said, "I love you" back. I love you, Dad. Know your self-worth. That is true success. On this journey, you will go through so much, but when you can connect with your self-worth, it doesn't matter what happens in career, in family, knowing that you are worthy as you are. You are a worthy being. Congratulations, class of 2019. I wish you love. Congratulations.
Thank you, Rosa Lee, for your story of courage and your work as a performer. It's a gift for us to have you here today.